The first time I noticed the gap in time was during my night shift at Mercy General. My watch showed 2:17 a.m. when I stepped into the supply closet. When I emerged, it read 3:17 a.m. exactly. An hour gone, yet it felt like only seconds had passed. I chalked it up to exhaustion. Night shifts at an understaffed hospital will do that to you. But then it happened again the next night, and the night after that. Always the same hour, always from the same supply closet on the 3rd floor. My curiosity eventually outweighed my apprehension. On my 4th night shift, I deliberately entered the closet at 2:15 a.m. with my phone set to record video. I placed it on the highest shelf, facing the door, and waited. The fluorescent bulb above me flickered rhythmically, casting a sickly glow on the shelves of bandages and medication. The hospital's usual sounds, beeping monitors, squeaking gurneys, distant conversations, seemed muffled through the thin walls. A peculiar stillness settled over the small space. I checked my watch, 2:16 a.m. At exactly 2:17 a.m., the light stopped flickering and steadied. The ambient sounds didn't just muffle, they disappeared entirely. Complete silence enveloped me, pressing against my eardrums like cotton wool. The air grew dense, almost viscous, making each breath a conscious effort. I reached for the doorknob, suddenly desperate to escape, but my hand moved with agonizing slowness, as if pushing through invisible molasses. The metallic handle felt unnaturally cold against my skin, sending a shock up my arm. That's when I heard it, a soft, irregular tapping from somewhere behind the shelves. Tap, 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 then a faint scratching like fingernails dragging across drywall. "Hello," I called out, my voice sounding flat and lifeless in the dead air. The scratching stopped. Then came a whisper so close I could feel the breath on my neck. "You're early." I spun around, heart hammering against my ribs, but saw nothing. The shelves stood as they always had, stocked with supplies. Yet something felt fundamentally wrong about the space, as if the dimensions had subtly shifted. The corners seemed slightly off angle. The ceiling appeared just a few inches too high. A drop of water, or something thicker, landed on my forearm. I looked up to see a dark stain spreading across the ceiling tiles directly above me. Another drop fell, this time hitting my cheek. It was warm. The light flickered once, twice, then went out completely. In the darkness, I heard what sounded like bare feet shuffling across the floor tiles. Moving closer, the air grew colder with each passing second, my breath now visible in wispy clouds. "Who's there?" I managed to ask, backing toward where I believed the door to be. "Everyone," came the whispered response, this time from multiple voices speaking in unsettling unison. And no one. My back hit the door. I groped desperately for the handle, fingers trembling. When I finally grasped it, a hand, ice cold and unnaturally dry, closed over mine. I couldn't see it in the darkness, but I could feel each finger, each knuckle wrapping around my wrist with gentle precision. "They don't know yet," the voices whispered collectively, "but they will." The light flickered back on. I was alone. My watch read 3:17 a.m. With shaking hands, I retrieved my phone from the shelf. The video had recorded the full hour, but showed only me, standing motionless in the center of the closet, staring unblinkingly at the camera. Not a single movement for 60 minutes straight. I quit the night shift the following day, found a new job at a private clinic with strictly daytime hours. I thought that would be the end of it. Until yesterday, when examining a patient's chart, I noticed something peculiar. Every day at precisely 2:17 a.m., his vitals showed the same anomaly. For exactly 1 hour, the monitors recorded nothing, no heartbeat, no respiration, no brain activity. Yet at 3:17 a.m., everything would return to normal, with the patient showing no awareness of the lapse. The clinic has 37 patients with identical readings. I checked the building records today. This place was constructed using salvaged materials from the demolished east wing of Mercy General, including the supply closet doors from the third floor. Tonight, I hear scratching from inside my office wall, and when I checked my watch just now, it read 2:16 a.m. Tap, 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 tap. It's about to be 2:17. If you enjoyed this terrifying tale, please drop a like and subscribe for more nightmares like this one. Don't forget to leave a comment sharing your thoughts. Your support helps keep the darkness coming. Sweet dreams, if you can still sleep. I never drive with passengers anymore. Not since that night on Route 16 when the fog rolled in thick enough to swallow the world. I was doing my usual cross-country haul, nothing special about it. Just me, my 18-wheeler, and 300 miles of empty highway stretching ahead. The weather report had mentioned patchy fog, but this was different, dense and unnatural, like driving through milk. Around midnight, I spotted a lone figure by the roadside, a hitchhiker in the middle of nowhere. Strange enough to make me hesitate, but something about their posture, slightly hunched, arm half raised, stirred my compassion. Probably some poor soul stranded by a broken-down vehicle. I slowed my rig and pulled over, the brakes hissing in protest. Through my side mirror, I watched as the figure approached, their gait uneven but deliberate. When I leaned across to push open the passenger door, the overhead light revealed a man in his 40s, unremarkable save for eyes that seemed too dark against his pale skin. "Appreciate it," he said, climbing in. His voice had an odd, hollow quality, like someone talking through a long pipe. Not many stop these days. "Where you headed?" I asked, pulling back onto the deserted highway. The fog swirled around my headlights, giving me maybe 20 feet of visibility. "Just down the road a piece," he replied vaguely, settling into the seat. "Been walking a while." Something about him felt off. His clothes weren't wet despite the heavy mist outside. No bags or belongings of any kind. And though the cab was warm, his presence seemed to draw the heat from it, leaving a chill that seeped into my bones. We drove in silence for several miles, the only sounds the rumble of the engine and the rhythmic sweep of the wipers. I tried the radio to break the tension, but got nothing but static, unusual for that stretch of road. "Bad night for reception," my passenger commented, though I hadn't mentioned it aloud. I glanced at him. In profile, his features looked sharper, almost drawn, like skin stretched too tight over bone. When he turned to meet my gaze, I quickly looked back to the road. "How long you been driving this route?" he asked. 15 years, give or take." He nodded slowly. "Ever had an accident? These roads can be treacherous in weather like this." A chill ran down my spine that had nothing to do with the temperature. "No, never." Lucky man. His fingers drummed on the dashboard, a strange, offbeat rhythm. Tap, 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 tap. The fog grew impossibly thicker until the world beyond my windshield disappeared entirely. I slowed to a crawl, hunched forward, straining to see. "You should have seen the crash," he said suddenly, voice eerily calm. "What crash?" "The big one. Right here at mile marker 117. He pointed ahead, though nothing was visible through the wall of white. 18-wheeler just like yours. Driver fell asleep at the wheel, crossed the median, hit a family of 4 head on." My stomach nodded. "I don't remember hearing about that." "It hasn't happened yet," he replied simply. The cab grew colder still. I could see my breath now, forming small clouds that dissipated in the darkness. The headlights seemed dimmer, barely penetrating the dense fog. "You're tired," he continued, his voice taking on a hypnotic quality. "Been driving too long. Your eyes are heavy. So heavy." They were. My eyelids felt like lead weights. I shook my head, fighting the sudden, overwhelming urge to sleep. "Who are you?" I managed to ask, my tongue feeling thick in my mouth. His smile showed too many teeth. "I'm just making sure things happen as they should." The mile marker appeared out of the fog, 117. My passenger leaned closer, his breath cold against my ear. "There they are," he whispered, pointing toward the oncoming lane. Through a momentary break in the fog, I saw headlights approaching, a car on the other side of the median. My eyelids drooped. The steering wheel began to slip in my grasp. With horrifying detachment, I felt the truck drift across the rumble strip, heading toward the median. With every ounce of strength I possessed, I wrenched the wheel back and slammed on the brakes. The truck shuddered violently, hydroplaning on the wet asphalt before grinding to a halt mere inches from the median barrier. The family's car passed safely by, disappearing into the fog. Heart pounding, I turned to confront my passenger, but the seat beside me was empty, had been empty. The door remained locked from the inside. Shaking uncontrollably, I pulled to the shoulder and called 911. The dispatcher sounded confused when I described what happened, then concerned. Sir," she said gently, "there was a fatal accident at that exact location 10 years ago tonight. An 18-wheeler crossed the median and hit a family of 4. There were no survivors. I drive alone now, but sometimes when the fog rolls in, I catch a glimpse of someone standing by the roadside in my peripheral vision, and no matter how empty the cab seems, I can't shake the feeling that I'm never truly alone." Tap, 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 tap. The sound comes from the passenger seat, even now as I record this warning for you. If this chilling tale kept you on the edge of your seat, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories that'll make your blood run cold. Leave a comment sharing your own roadside encounters. Your support keeps these nightmares coming to life. The Henderson building sits empty at night, all 43 floors of it. Everyone leaves by 7, except for me. As the night custodian, I have the building to myself from 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. Just me, my cleaning cart, and 43 floors of empty offices. At least, they're supposed to be empty. I've worked here for 3 years now. The job pays well, and I prefer the solitude of night work. The first 2 years were uneventful. I'd clean the floors in sequence, starting at the bottom and working my way up, finishing with the executive suites on the top floor. The routine never varied, and neither did the building, until 3 months ago when I first noticed the anomaly on the 27th floor. It was subtle at first, just a feeling of wrongness when I stepped off the elevator. The air felt different there, heavier somehow, with an underlying scent of ozone and something else I couldn't identify, almost like wet earth and corroded metal. The layout was wrong too. Not dramatically, but enough to notice after cleaning the same space hundreds of times. The distance between cubicles seemed shorter. The break room door was on the wrong wall. The windows looked out over a different part of the city than they should have. I convinced myself I was just tired, mixing up floors in my mind after too many overnight shifts. But the next night, the 27th floor was normal again, exactly as it should be. I felt ridiculous for having been concerned. A week later, it happened again. This time, the differences were more pronounced. The carpet was a shade darker. The ceiling tiles had an intricate pattern I'd never seen before, and the wall where the break room should have been was completely solid with no door at all. I checked the elevator panel, confirming I was indeed on 27. I even checked the emergency floor plan mounted by the stairwell, which matched the layout I was seeing now, not the one I remembered from every other night. As I continued my cleaning routine, trying to ignore the crawling sensation between my shoulder blades, I noticed something else. Tiny handprints in the dust on the undersides of the desks. Too small to be an adult's. Too perfectly formed to be smudges or coincidence. I finished quickly that night and didn't mention it to anyone. The next evening, the 27th floor was back to normal. No handprints, no strange layout, no lingering scent of earth and metal. The pattern continued. Every 7 days, the 27th floor would shift, and with each occurrence, the changes grew more dramatic, more unsettling. The third time, family photos on desks showed different faces, people with stretched smiles and eyes that reflected too much light. Computer screens that should have been off glowed with screensavers I'd never seen before. Abstract patterns that seemed to writhe and pulse when viewed from the corner of my eye. The fourth time, I found a desk with a nameplate bearing my name. Inside its drawer was an ID badge with my photo, but the eyes were solid black and the smile was all wrong. Too wide, too many teeth. Last week marked the fifth occurrence. The elevator doors opened to reveal a 27th floor that barely resembled an office at all. The walls breathed, subtly expanding and contracting like the lungs taking shallow breaths. The floor squelched beneath my feet, the carpet now resembling something organic and membranous, and the ceiling pulsed with veins of light that tracked my movements across the room. In the center of the floor stood a single desk with a single chair. On the desk sat an old rotary phone that began to ring the moment I stepped off the elevator. Despite every instinct screaming at me to leave, I approached it, drawn by a compulsion I couldn't resist. I lifted the receiver. Through waves of static, a chorus of children's voices whispered, "You're almost ready." One more visit. Tonight marks the sixth occurrence. I'm standing before the elevator now, watching the numbers climb as it ascends toward me. 25, 26. The doors slide open to reveal the 27th floor, but it's not a floor at all anymore. It's an endless dark corridor stretching far beyond where the building's dimensions should allow. The walls glisten with something slick. The air is thick with the scent of earth and metal, and now I recognize it as blood and rust. Voices call from the darkness, beckoning me forward. They know my name. They know everything about me. They've been preparing this place, preparing me for weeks now. The elevator doors begin to close. I should let them. I should return to the lobby, walk out of this building, and never come back. But my feet are moving of their own accord, stepping into the impossible corridor. The elevator chimes behind me as the doors shut, sealing off my escape. Something moves in the darkness ahead, a figure crouched low to the ground. As my eyes adjust, I can make out more of them. Dozens crawling along the walls and ceiling, small bodies with too many limbs, faces turned eagerly in my direction. My cleaning cart is beside me, somehow. From the bottom compartment, I pull out the ID badge I found 2 weeks ago. The one with my face, but not my eyes. I clip it to my shirt. It feels right there, like it belongs. The corridor stretches before me, longer than the building is tall, deeper than logic should allow. The voices grow louder, more insistent. And now I understand what they've been telling me all along. I'm not here to clean the 27th floor. I'm here to become it. As I walk forward into the reaching darkness, phone in hand, I dial your number, because someone needs to take my place when I'm gone. The 27th floor will be waiting for you tomorrow night. If this story left you checking over your shoulder, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more tales from the darkness. Leave a comment about your creepiest night shift experience. Your support keeps these nightmares alive night after night.